Hi there, this is David and welcome to the Suikoden series ranked from worst to best. This is a series near and dear to my heart, beginning on the PlayStation and unfortunately ending on the DS. We'll be covering all mainline Suikoden games as well as the two side stories here. If you'd like to see some other long-running series ranked, please check out the video description for some links. With all that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Number 7. Suikoden 3, released for the PlayStation 2. Many early PlayStation 2 RPGs are plagued by the same problems. They're too long, battles are too slow, and they're just too generic. Well, those descriptors fit this game to a T. That being said though, it does introduce some unique aspects, but many of them are more frustrating than interesting. One that immediately comes to mind is the pairing system for battles. Instead of controlling 6 characters, you actually control 3 different pairs, and they're forced to work together. It just sucks, because if one pair is on the verge of death, you can't have another pair heal them. And if you're facing a boss who's weak to magic, you can't have both of the members cast a spell, only one of them can. And then if you see all the enemies grouped up nice and you want to cast a spell to just annihilate them, you have to wait for them all to scatter to the winds, so then your spell doesn't hit any of them. It's damned annoying. Also, the skill system is introduced here, which does serve to make your characters more unique. However, most of the time, it just kind of handicaps your guys and makes them more underpowered because you can't use magical weapons equally. You're always going to be set back in some way or another. But now, let's get to the real meat of why I don't like this game. It's the acclaimed Trinity Sight system, which on paper sounds really neat. It's like a chapter system, where you see the same events from different viewpoints, but in reality, it means that you're going to be seeing the same 3 events 9 different times. I'm not exaggerating when I say that this is the first game that I ever played where I just fell asleep in the middle of it because it's just so boring. Number 6. Suikoden Tear Crease, released for the Nintendo DS. It's really quite a feat to take a series as unique and inspired as Suikoden and turn it into just another generic JRPG, but that's what the creators did here. Gone is the sprawling world map, the 6 party member battles, and even the concept of the true runes. They're all just missing. You still have your 108 Stars of Destiny, but it really feels like it's just there to check a requirement off the list. None of them are memorable, and aside from the obligatory dialogue that you get when they're recruited, none of them ever really utter a word otherwise. They're all just so forgettable. Not to mention that it felt like recruiting them was even more of a chore than usual, because it's a dreadful experience having to slowly backtrack all over God's green earth after every single event to find the next nameless wall decoration or character. Maybe it's just because it's on the DS and the system's limited, but collecting all my guys just wasn't fun. And despite this one being the latest release, it's still the least memorable to me. And what makes it even worse is that unique weaponry for each character, as well as duels and large-scale battles, are abandoned wholesale. Don't get me wrong though, it's still a good RPG, and it will fill a need, but it's just not a true Suikoden game. Number 5. Suikoden Tactics, released for the PlayStation 2. This is an odd bird, but having a tactical game in the series just goes to show how dedicated Konami was to this franchise in the early 2000s. The game is split into 2 different parts, occurring before, then after the events of Suikoden 4. However, it still stands on its own 2 feet as a good game, and you can understand the plot even if you didn't play the 4th entry. The tactical turn-based battle system works nicely, and the magical runes as well as the attacking runes are incorporated seamlessly. Only a select few mages can use the magical runes, but they can change the elements of the grid that you're on, providing a depth of strategy. And the majority of the warriors can use the physical runes, and the skill system from Suikoden 3 has returned with a vengeance. Unfortunately, it doesn't follow in the footsteps of the others with 108 Stars of Destiny. Instead, there's only about 60 characters to gather, and recruiting them doesn't change much of anything either, other than giving you more options in battle. However, because of the inclusion of permadeath, you may need the additional characters, though those important to the story won't die, they just retreat. This was a huge downer for me, and it made me just want to avoid doing quests and getting characters at all, and instead just focus on the story favorites. If you do the quests though, it will really flesh out the story, though just sticking to the main path will take you about 20 hours and fill in some plot holes from the 4th game. Like I said, it's odd, but if you're looking for a very unique game to scratch that strategy RPG itch, you found it. Number 4, Suikoden 4, released for the PlayStation 2. I know that many people don't like this game, and I understand why. However, while the other games focus on conflicting countries and the outbreak of war, the 4th game instead focuses on open-world exploration and uniting the Southern Islands in order to liberate them from an invading army. However, sailing around the open ocean can present some problems, most notably, not really knowing where you're going and just being surrounded on all sides by vast expanses of open emptiness, though you can speed the sailing up so it's not as bad as most people make it out to be. Also, your ship doubles as your headquarters, and exploring the open ocean reminds me a lot of Skies of Arcadia and its fantastic exploration. There's something to be said about having the world be your oyster from the get-go. Oh, and Vicky joins up pretty damn early in this one too, so there's really no backtracking to speak of. The crazy battle system from the previous installment has been cleaned up and it plays much more standardly. However, now you can only have 4 people in your party, which is quite a shame when you have 108 of them to choose from. War battles are dropped in favor of ship battles, which totally fits the theme, and just when the game starts to wear out its welcome, it ends at around 20 hours, and I can really appreciate that. Number 3, Suikoden 1, released for the original PlayStation. Finally, we have the game that started it all. Lightning quick battles with 6 party members, an intriguing story about friendship, betrayal, love, and war, and, of course, the 108 Stars of Destiny. As an early PS1 game, it can look rather bare bones and archaic by today's standards, but let me tell you, this little gem packs quite the punch. The hero may have the best true rune in the entire series, and the developers did the story right by having many characters and themes return in the future games. Never before had a series really taken characters and locations from one game and then used them for future iterations. But that is the norm here. Characters, cities, and countries established first here will continually pop up in the future games, so playing the series in order is important, and it made the staples first introduced here that much more impactful. While the combat can be basic, and you can only equip 1 rune on each party member, the game does not wear out its welcome, as the leveling system introduced here set the standard, so grinding is pretty much irrelevant, and you can complete the game in easily under 10 hours. I remember having a ton of fun the previous year building my own town up in Breath of Fire 2, but creating and developing my very own castle from the ground up here was just mind-blowing. There's just nothing not to like in this fun, fast-paced first outing. Number 2, Suikoden 2, released for the original PlayStation. I love this game, and while for many people this is their favorite in the series as well as the rarest, fetching easily upwards of $100 per copy, to me it's my second favorite, but just by the thinnest of margins. The storyline has been ramped up from the first game, and it's no longer bare bones, and it features one of the best villains ever to grace an RPG. Luca Blight is up there with Kefka and Edna as one of the greatest villains of all time. Not only is the story well told, but the motivations of the Highland armies are fleshed out, and the intentions of the villains are explored in depth. Not to mention the memorable characters. And I'm not just talking about the main ones. Even the most minor Stars of Destiny have some sort of relevance, or are at least useful in battle. I love the relationship between the hero, Joey, Pilika, and Nami. It's just so touching, and by the end, you feel like you actually have a stake in the game. I think that that's kind of the hallmark of a good game. Does it pull you in, and does it make you want to see the ending? Does it make you want to explore all that there is to find? Or do you just kind of do it just to get some trophies off of a list? Well, let me tell you, here, the story is gripping from the start and will not let go, and you want to see it out to the end. And number 1, Suikoden 5, released for the PlayStation 2. Here we have the end-all, be-all of the series, the culmination and absolutely the best one, because it takes all the improvements of its predecessors with none of the stupid systems or drawbacks, and it's also a masterclass in storytelling. Instead of taking place on the northern continent, Suikoden 5 moves south to explore a whole new country, the Queendom of Falena. It's a vast, beautiful place full of new and interesting people, as well as old friends who fans of the series would be familiar with. Just like the fourth game, voice acting is here, but thankfully, no one important is all that annoying. Regular battles are much more tactical in nature, and the battles are quite a bit harder, and formations have been introduced. So if you want to use a party full of short-ranged fighters, have at it. Rather than previous games being focused on limiting what you can do or who you can have in your party, Suikoden 5 prides itself on letting you play the game how you want to play it. The skill system is completely overhauled to not penalize you either. Everything is set up in an intuitive way to help you, and that makes this game a joy to play. And the story, involving family intrigue, revenge, and betrayal, is top-notch and right up there with the second game. Duels and war battles are back, and they're more complex than ever, with real-time strategy taking place during both. You can't just wait around forever consulting a list during a duel, because the guy will strike you if you take too long. And the war battles aren't turn-based like Fire Emblem, they're real-time strategy like Ogre Battle. I personally like the changes because it ups the stakes and the challenge. It's as if they finally realized how they wanted the series to go, and they definitely went out with a bang. Well, that's it for the Suikoden series ranked. If you'd like to see more, I do have some Let's Plays of the first two games on my channel. What's your experience with the series? Do you agree with my rankings? Let me know in the comments, and if you like this, please like, comment, and subscribe, and have a good day.